It's our 10th and final week here at Jack Mountain and the Earth Skills semester program. Let's meet Mors Kochanski and see what we've been up to.
You take half your leaves going one way and half going the other, set up for the arms, and then you start at the 1/3 point and you twist. And you take 6 twists. And that's usually your arms. The distance between your fingertips is how tall you are. And your head is usually 1/7 your height. So for the doll to look right, the head is 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 heights. And the arms have to be 7 heads long, and then the doll has the right proportion. So when I quit here, usually that'll unravel. So I usually tie it with one of these to keep it from unraveling. So doing that. There, then you take the other arm, and you did it with 1/3 point, so it means you got still left here, you fold it up and you go 1/4 longer to start your arm, because by the time the twisting occurs, both arms will be the same length. And then you twist towards the other arm, and you end up with a thing that looks like a capital letter T. You learn how to talk about moving your teeth. You can teach a lot of this sort of stuff. That's the next step to Antilocution. Once it got going, so I could make quite a pile from just one cattail. People will come up and say, if you make us a doll like that, we'll feed you. Or if I went up to the concession, are you the man that makes dolls? Would you trade a pie for one of those dolls? It just did this thing.
I'm digging for cattail roots. There's one.
All it is a testament of the fact that the police aren't doing the job in the first place.
Yum yum.
If they had stopped the crime, they wouldn't do the investigation.
So I peeled down to the core of my
Oh, I see.
cattail root.
All
And
right,
this is the edible part where I can get the starch.
So this is not a made in China. Here, this should be a pretty skookum pair of scissors then.
You can roast it so that these fibers will break up when you eat it.
I don't know
But
where it was made.
if you're in a rush, you can just
One of the nicer
I
ones.
have
kind of scrape it off with your teeth.
I'm
I'm gonna make sure you have dental floss.
What?
Is it good?
Really?
Oh yeah.
I found
I mean,
use.
it doesn't taste like much
my
really.
lifestyle. If I have to
But
use
it's
a
not bad.
Leatherman, I'm doing something that's not bush.
And if you're in the bush and you need carbohydrates,
Yeah, I'm trying to live like a
those are the
Indian.
hardest things to come by.
I've never had to use Leatherman to get
So
by in this forest.
This would be a good thing.
But when I go to town to move, help my kids move or anything like that, the Leatherman is
Yeah, I
good.
mean, like, look, it's my first
I
one.
mean,
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well,
not as pretty as this or complicated.
Look at his little hat.
see the subtle thing because I bent it and how it's got a little bit of a tush and
Yeah.
how this allows it to stand. And I'm at the end of my line here. That's just the beginning. Just see where you can go. You start off where I left off. As we were going, you notice there's the two different cattails, the one with the head and one without. Well, when you pull the stem out at a certain time, you get a piece of edible about the size of a pencil before you sharpen it. And that's what, it's sort of like that consistency in a way. The native people in some parts of the country, they would collect the heads at the right time and they would wet the fluff, and using sticks on a fire they would singe off all the hair, and the seeds would be roasted and left. And it would take a day to collect a cupful of the seeds, but because of the high oil content, it was important in that. There's a book called The Survival Arts of the Primitive Paiutes. That's where the description of all that stuff is in there. He's probably got, you got the book.
Yeah, he does.
That's a lot of, it doesn't have much in that book, but everything it has in there is pretty skookum. Such a big leaf, but so mild. The name Sweden is translatable into people who farm by fire. Sweden. And that's where the name comes from. And they really had a problem. So the Swedish have studied the edible properties of plants and making poisonous plants edible more than any other nation in the world. So if you want to get down to the bottom of the best research, you'll likely find it in Sweden.
Probably my second accent. It's much smaller than the first, about 20 inches or so versus my size 28 to 30-inch axe.
Got a moose hide, so this is a extra special treat because it's such strong leather. Much thicker, much harder to scrape than deer. But let me show you how thick it is.
You know, like I came out here expecting, you know, what the average American does with survival and bushcraft and stuff, which is like you go out into the woods and you suffer, and it's whoever, you know, can take the most pain or something, whoever's got the most guts and like whoever can kill the biggest animal. But it really isn't about that. And I really like Tim, our instructor, because he makes that very clear. He makes you understand what living in the woods is about.
I think the culminating moment of the course happened during a White Mountains hike. We hiked out of Franconia. We hiked about 5 miles that day. Hiked upriver some, made a campsite. Tim said, "Okay, everybody go into the woods and make some shelters." So we did that for the second night, like as if it was no problem. Just walked out, made some shelters, looked at the sky afterwards, said, "Oh, it's gonna rain. Let's start a fire." We started the fire, and then 5-10 minutes later it started to rain. We kept it going through the whole storm. And just the feeling, the whole group's feeling at that point was really close to elation, I'd say. And it was a really great moment, knowing that we have these skills, we've put them to use, we've put them to test, and we've passed.
Well, Jack Mountain's a good chance to get out of the classroom, to learn a lot of skills that are actually helpful in life.
There's two things that I'm thinking about as the semester comes to an end. One is just the amount of confidence that and I think all the other students have. It's one thing to take a course, it's another thing to have lived this way for 10 weeks. You can learn the techniques in a weekend or a week or 2 weeks, but to live with it day in and day out, like there's a confidence that I feel about these skills that I've never felt before. The other thing I'm thinking about is how much energy it takes to make something from nothing, and how little we value that in this society, how easily we throw things away.
Here we just spend a lot of time focusing on the skills, and I think that's really important.
All right, thanks for joining us on our adventure. And remember, the more you carry in your head, the less you carry on your back. So long!